Becoming an academic weapon and making studying your whole life are not the same thing. I've been getting the literal best grades possible throughout my entire schooling career, and I'm going to tell you what your teachers won't about how much work you actually need to put in to do well. And because of my grades, I was also able to get into one of the best universities in the UK. So I'm not going to waste your time. The secret that no one talks about is to get into a library or public space whenever you're trying to do some revision. I remember during my GCSE mocks, I think this was like prime fortnight at that time, and I would wake up every single day and tell myself, look, I'm going to study until noon and then I'll have the whole day out in front of me. But the problem was, as soon as I woke up, I had my Xbox in the other corner of the room, I had like junk food all around me. And obviously if you have those temptations around you when you're trying to study, you're not going to be able to focus for very long. So I just kept on pushing the work back and back and saying, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And I actually did really well in the exams, but that's because in the last week I was like, fuck this, I'm going to make sure I get work done by going to a library where there's no other choice but to work. You'll see what I mean as soon as you implement this tip. When other people around you are focused, it's nice and quiet, your phone's not distracting you, it's so much easier to stay concentrated. You can also go to a coffee shop or literally any single public space where you can sit down and start to do some work. And when you really lock in, you can get 2 to 3 hours of really like undistracted studying done. This is truly what I think separates me, because most students study in pretty much the most retarded way possible. They'll have their phone literally pinging off every 5 minutes and then wonder why they can't stay concentrated on something they find pretty boring. So the most important thing is to be surrounded by people who are also studying and to cut out all the possible distractions that could take you away from being locked in on your work. Another thing you must do is to set deadlines for yourself. A lot of the time you'll have 2 or 3 weeks to do an essay, for example, in school or uni. And I, like pretty much every other student out there, always used to leave this to pretty much the last night. I remember for my history A-level, this is literally a subject that's going to determine the status of the university I get in, because I have to get the best grades. And I left the coursework, which was literally worth about 30% of the final grade, to the last night possible. I promise you I got about 3 hours of sleep that night, and the grade you get obviously suffers because of that. So you have to set deadlines that are before the actual deadline to make sure that you're on track. But a very important part of this is keeping yourself accountable and telling someone else, like a close friend or a family member, telling them to check up on you. So if you tell one of your parents that you're going to get this assignment done 5 days before it's due, you know for a fact they're going to be checking up on you, and that gives you like the motivation to actually get it done and stop pushing it back, because you don't want to have that uncomfortable situation. Another thing that is crucial to becoming an academic weapon is to not make studying your entire life. Now, if you're a student, you're quite young and you're on YouTube, you would have seen a lot of videos where people talk about how they work or revise for 6, 7, 8 hours every single day. Not only is there no point of this, but it's not sustainable at all. So what you should actually be doing every single day is making studying the first thing you do in the morning. But if you can bang out like 2, 3, 4 hours before noon, then that's enough for a day. And this is obviously in an exam period. In a normal schooling period, put in like an hour and a half either before or after school, and then you'll have the entire rest of the day to chill, knowing that you've got that focused work done. As soon as you start setting unrealistic expectations about how long you're going to study, that is where procrastination kicks in. Because if you know you've got 6 hours of revision in front of you, you're not going to want to get started. Just make sure you're still living like a normal person. Even in the most intense exam periods, I have videos on my other channel where I literally show you me revising in the morning like a day before the exam, and then going to the gym, playing football, and I still did really well. If you make studying and academics your entire life, you're actually going to do worse.